This content is available from the Star Wars novel Darth Plagueis. Darth Plagueis and Darth Tenebris were on a mission on the planet Baldemnik to investigate the Cortosis ore, which was a lightsaber-resistant material. While they were moving on the planet's surface, Darth Plagueis brought down huge slabs of rocks on top of his master Tenebris instantly. It was so quick that Tenebris did not notice that Plagueis had done it. Such was the power of Plagueis. Later, after some mental calculations, Tenebris figured out that it was Plagueis. After he felt his master die, Plagueis still had to escape the planet somehow because their space shuttle had crashed. Baldemnik had extremely harsh temperatures with scorching heat. There were predators lurking around such as hogbats and bloodthirsty insects. Plagueis overcame all these with the help of the dark side of the Force, and he thought to himself the following: he would take flight from the underworld in which the Sith had dwelled. Awakened from a millennium of purposeful sleep, the power of the dark side would be reborn, and he, Plagueis, would carry the long-forged plan to completion. And he was awake in the oppressive heat, and he replayed the events of the previous day, still somewhat astounded by what he had done. And the Force whispered to him, "Your moment has come. Claim your stake to the dark side. Act now and be done with this." And he knew from his travels with and without Tenebris that he wasn't the galaxy's sole practitioner of the dark side, but then he was now the only Sith Lord descended from the Bane line, a true Sith, and that realization aroused the raw power coiled inside him. But then, when Plagueis stretched out with the Force, he could detect some presence of something or some being of near equal power. So he was wondering what was that. Later on, he would come to know that it was actually Palpatine. Darth Plagueis visited planet Naboo to oversee a deal to be made with soon-to-be elected monarch known as Pon Tapalo. When Plagueis arrived, it was winter in Naboo, and since the Dark Lord of the Sith visited, the planet was gripped with freezing cold and remembered to be the coldest winter in the history of the planet. Furthermore, the Theed waterfalls froze when Plagueis set foot on the planet. Plagueis visited Naboo along with the members of his company called Damask Holdings. The deal was to obtain Naboo's plasma energy resource. House Palpatine was completely against the deal. However, Plagueis was getting leaked information from the royal house of Palpatine. Plagueis later found out that a young Palpatine was leaking information to Plagueis in favor of the deal made to extract Naboo's plasma energy. So Plagueis went to meet young Palpatine at his university, and he was so impressed by Palpatine's acumen for politics. In fact, Plagueis thought of recruiting Palpatine as an extremely useful political tool. He then tried to see Palpatine in the Force, but Palpatine already cloaked himself in the Force. Even though he was untrained, he had such mental barriers that even Darth Plagueis could not see through. This first meeting between Plagueis and Palpatine ended with them becoming good friends. Also, Darth Plagueis was so interested in Palpatine after their first meeting on Naboo. Palpatine's father, however, did not like his son's new friendship with Plagueis. Palpatine's father strictly tells Plagueis to have no future communications with his son. So he sent Palpatine to another planet called Chandrila, which was part of the youth legislative program to enter politics. Intrigued by Palpatine during their first meeting, Plagueis takes a trip to visit him. During their meeting, Plagueis and Palpatine walk along a pathway, and the pathway was filled with flower blossoms on the side. While they talk, Plagueis again attempts to see Palpatine with the Force, but then the young man has concealed himself in such a way that Plagueis could not sense anything what he was thinking. When Plagueis mentioned that Palpatine's father had asked him not to visit his son, that is when Palpatine gets angry. His anger was such that it caused the flower blossoms along the pathway to fold on themselves, and the droid accompanying Plagueis starts to wobble on its feet. This is when Plagueis wonders whether the Force was so strong in Palpatine that it concealed itself. Plagueis manipulated young Palpatine to kill his family. When Plagueis visited Sidious, he tells a tale about Plagueis' family and how he was born from a lesser caste mother who was the second wife of his father. His family members, including his clan mother, were so dismissive of him, but then they all shared a genetic disorder due to which they had hired a scientist to help them. But Plagueis had manipulated the situation and made sure his rest of the family died due to this genetic problem. He got their entire share of the family fortunes. After he told the story to Palpatine, he left him. After a while, Palpatine's father visits him and forcibly asks him to board a shuttle with his family and told him to strictly go to another place to be away from Naboo's politics. This is when Palpatine's anger got out of control. He first kills his father by warping the bulkhead of the cruiser, crushing him, and then goes on to kill every member of his family and the pilots aboard the ship, all without moving an inch. It was a very chilling scene to visualize. After he kills them, he contacts Plagueis, and Plagueis helps him dispose of the bodies on the shuttle. Later, after a week, Plagueis visits him and Palpatine accuses him for killing his family, but Plagueis makes him believe that it was only his fault. So this is how Plagueis manipulated Palpatine to killing his family. Palpatine was so angry at Plagueis that he had manipulated him to killing his own family. And then Plagueis asked how did it happen? Palpatine told, I did it with this, his mind. And then Plagueis understood the dark side had brought Palpatine to Plagueis, but Palpatine could not contain his anger. He tried to touch Plagueis with the Force, and that is when Plagueis said, Careful boy, you are not the only being in this plush stateroom with the power to kill. And then Palpatine felt Plagueis' power. And Plagueis said, what you sense is a fraction of what I can bring to bear. And Plagueis asks Palpatine whether he can join the Sith. Palpatine was like, might I be of some use to the Sith? And then he asks, where are the Sith? And Plagueis says, just now, there is only one, unless of course it is your will to join me. Palpatine says, I do wish to join you. And then Plagueis says, then kneel before me. And then Plagueis touched the head of Palpatine, and then he said, then it is done. From this day forward, the truth of you, now and forevermore, will be Sidious. So this is how Palpatine became an apprentice to Darth Plagueis. After Palpatine was named Darth Sidious, Plagueis takes him to Mygeeto, the birthplace of Darth Plagueis. Mygeeto is a harsh planet with freezing cold and constant snow. Plagueis did not wear any thermal protectors or environment suits. However, Sidious was wearing a protective suit. Even when Sidious was shivering in the cold, Plagueis was untouched by the snow as the snow melted before they touched him. Plagueis says to Sidious that he learned to live in harsh conditions when he was just 8 years old. And then he tells Sidious that he who wants to be a Sith should face death and be reborn from the experience. And then Plagueis asks Sidious to narrate how Sidious had killed his family in greater detail. He wanted Sidious to gain more command over his actions while he kept retelling it to Plagueis. About the time when Sidious felt someone else had done it, he felt raw power inside him. Plagueis was making Sidious learn beyond good and evil and make sure that Sidious learns the most important goal, that is to achieve power no matter the cost. He then asks Sidious to use other living beings as only tools to make sure that Sidious achieves his goals. He also tells Sidious that even a Jedi who kills in anger or out of desire can never be a true Sith Lord. Power is the main aim of the Sith, no matter the cost. He continues to lecture Sidious that true Sith hunt the Force itself, unlike the Jedi who use the Force to guide their actions. This torture went on for weeks, and he tried to kill Plagueis, but Plagueis pushes him into the frozen ice floor. And this kept on going until Sidious once asks him how long for him to truly learn. Then Plagueis finally replied, not sooner than a decade. So for 10 years since Sidious joined the Sith, he underwent extremely harsh training from Plagueis. 11 years after his first lesson, Sidious and Plagueis are on the planet called Buoyant. In this planet, the gravity is light and it's populated mostly by wild animals. Sidious and Plagueis hunt extremely violent predators while they run alongside with them. Plagueis tells Sidious that the Sith are the apex predators across the universe. Plagueis continues to lecture Sidious that the Sith are black holes and not shiny stars, and that the Sith bend and warp the space around them. Plagueis then released a storm of force lightning across the dry grassland, and they caught fire. He says that force lightning can not only kill, but it can transform the person using it, and that in order to use force lightning properly, Sidious himself has to be attacked by force lightning. This is a foreshadowing to what happens to Sidious during the Revenge of the Sith, where Sidious is transformed by his own force lightning. Plagueis continues to say that the power of the dark side is an illness no true Sith would wish to be cured of. After their hunting mission on Buoyant, Plagueis and Sidious go to the planet called Hypori, where they battle brutal assault of different types of battle droids with different types of laser guns. Plagueis asks Sidious to memorize each and every weapon which the droids were holding. After successfully destroying all the droids, Sidious asks Plagueis whether they should visit planets along with the dark side like Moraban, Roman Kars, etc. Plagueis answers that for now, their mission is to destroy any other Sith pretenders in the galaxy. Sidious also then asks whether he should learn from Sith holocrons, to which Plagueis replies that Sidious must discover the dark side in his own way and perfect the power in his own fashion. Only after that he can consult with the old Sith holocrons of past Sith Lords, so as to not get influenced by them early on. But Sidious had secretly studied some of them, and he quotes Darth Plagueis: "What celestial body is more luminous than a singularity, hiding in plain sight but more powerful than all?" To which Plagueis agrees and adds that true power need not be loudly announced, but with charisma and clever politics, the Sith shall rule the galaxy. For the past 600 years, masters and apprentices from the Bane lineage had come to the planet Cursed to participate in a Sith ritual. In the planet Cursed, the local indigenous people are a primitive species but powerful warriors. The people of Cursed regard the Sith as gods, and thus they serve as servants of the dark side. Both Plagueis and Sidious use force spikes rather than lightsabers to keep the fight even. There were hundreds of warriors with spears, arrows, and axes, and just 2 Sith Lords. Before the battle began, Plagueis says every generation of these people evolved by using newer weapons. By the time next generation of Sith arrive, the Sith too will have to evolve. So Plagueis mentions that evolution of Sith is very important. After defeating everyone, there was still one warrior left. Plagueis kills him with his lightsaber and says, "Execute one and terrify 1,000." This was a lesson for Sidious. Plagueis goes on to say that the Sith will improve people's lives. In order to do that, Plagueis mentions to Sidious that Sith must eradicate the weak to make the people of the galaxy strong. To do that, he says the galaxy must undergo a war and destroy the lives of people who allowed it to decay, for decay has no cure. It has to be eradicated with a cleansing fire, and he blames the Jedi for galaxy's decay. He continues to say that the Sith has to harness the power of chaos and destruction to lead the people into better life, and Plagueis says the Force has elected the Sith Lords to do that. Hope you had fun with this video, and your support means a lot, so please like and subscribe and do turn on notifications. May the Force be with you guys.